OTB AM.
In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.
All right, it's just a couple of minutes to 8 on this Friday morning. Delighted to have you with us. Here's what's happening across the back pages this morning. A nice sunny shot there of Katie Taylor and her upcoming opponent Victoria Bustos of Argentina. They are in downtown New York ahead of their IBF and WBA lightweight unification bout on the Straight Outta Brooklyn Fight Night card this coming weekend, I think. The other big story, obviously, in the back page there, Gerrard enters the frame for a top job at Rangers. It's his, if he wants it, is really the essence of the story coming out of Glasgow, according to Roddy Forsyth. And, I mean, on the face of it, he's not, Dave, necessarily a guy with a huge amount of, we're talking about experience here. He's been managing the Liverpool under-18s, I think quite successfully as well, to be fair to him. But strong links with Rangers. It's his if he wants it. It'll be his first big job. There are parallels, obviously, with Graham Souness having done something kind of similar previously, albeit I think he was still playing at that time, Souness. And talked that he's going to bring in Gary McAllister with him, which would be, that's the world-class management team, Dave, right there.
You're comparing a Stevie Gerrard, Gary McAllister, managerial ticket to Bobby Robson, Steve Staunton.
Look, he's unproven as yet. But I mean, it'd be a wise thing to do in terms of bringing in McAllister, but the fit of Gerrard, who I believe is a Celtic fan, by the way.
I would even less managerial experience than he, in Gary McAllister.
Then
McAllister isn't the Bobby Robson in this.
No, I appreciate that. Absolutely,
duo.
no, appreciate that. It was
you're bringing in two guys. Absolutely no managerial experience. Apparently his work ethic when it comes to the 18s is second to none, that he absolutely devotes certainly 6 out of his 7 days to that job. He will look after the 18s, their own games, all the analysis that goes with that, and then head off later that day and watch a team from one of the younger underage groups. And he has taken to it really well. He was offered the MK Dons job about 6 months after he retired, and in his own words, it was like a smash in the face. He just realised he was nowhere near up to the standard that was required to just dive straight into management. And he said, give me another 6, 12, 18 months to kind of cut my teeth at this level and I'll see where I am then. Well, we are that 6 to 12 months on, and suddenly it's a big job in terms of the cachet of it, the name of the club, the tradition of the club now. In European terms, they're minnows. But
is it the perfect job for him in a lot of ways? Like, given that, I mean, so the owner hasn't necessarily made a huge amount of investment in terms of players, but there's enough quality there that they're going to, the expectation is that they'll finish runners up to Celtic in the Scottish Premier League, and that's probably exactly where they're going to finish. So it's a bit of a shot to nothing for him, and good experience at a big club.
Well, it depends exactly what the expectation levels are and what is the budget going to be. Is it enough to maybe get to a cup final, finish second, maybe pick up one win over in the Old Firm over the course of a season, or is he expected to qualify from the group stages of the Europa League to take down a so-called big fish in that competition? Is he expected to be contending for the Scottish Premiership title in his first season or his second season? And does he have to win a trophy, for example? Because Rangers fans could turn pretty quickly if they're not getting results, or at the very least they're not seeing progress, which they haven't really been seeing since they got back into the top flight, although they could still finish second this season, and they're up against a huge club in Scottish Premiership terms, budget-wise, that they're an awful long way from being able to compete with.
Yeah.
So
there's no indication that budget is going to come, by the way, from everything you hear.
No, there isn't.
The owner is not going to spend that money.
If he was given some sort of assurance as to what type of money he would be able to spend, certainly in relation to the other clubs in that division, and if expectations were very clearly laid out and he was happy with them. So it's also a gamble from their point of view, because they're a club that needs to start, making inroads again, and you're going to bring in a guy with absolutely no managerial experience. So I think from both points of view, it is a bit of a gamble. I'm not sure what way he'll go. Look, you are going into a club with a huge supporter base. You're going to be games in front of 40, 50,000 fans every weekend. Good
prep though, isn't it? That's where you want to get to. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. It's a stepping stone to something else.
And look, you succeed there and you probably set yourself up then for a really big job. And we've seen Brendan Rodgers completely rebuild his career at Celtic Park to the point where maybe he's not far away from getting a big job.
B-Rog would be worth the entrance fee alone.
Box office.
He's a Celtic fan, apparently.
He's also an Everton fan, so I mean, you can take all of that with a pinch of salt.
You make a reasonable point. The other thing was that, when you talk about the funds that were available when Souness went there, he was still playing, and he brought in, Terry Butcher, who I think was the current England captain at that time, and the England goalkeeper, whose name escapes me,
Chris Woods.
He brought in both of those players at that time. Like, I mean, it's unlikely that Stevie G is going to be afforded the opportunity to do that in terms of his budget.
He had Trevor Stephen there as well. He had Mark Haitley there as well. Like, he really brought in an English backbone to that team, and it served them very well. Didn't they win 10 titles in a row? Not all under Graham Souness, but a number of them were. And I'm not saying that Steven Gerrard's suddenly going to be repopulating the Rangers ranks with English players. The world is very different now. At the time, Rangers and Celtic were more than capable of holding their own against the top teams from the Premier League. I remember when Leeds won the title in '92 and they got knocked out of the European Cup the following season by Rangers. I mean, that's unthinkable now.
Yeah, absolutely.
25 years on.
Yeah. All right, that's the back page of the Irish Independent, and also a story here by Colin Keyes as well. Portugal trip puts Wexford hurlers in training camp firing line. So, I mean, I for one am shocked to learn about this. Another county is in probable breach of the ban on training camps as it emerged that Wexford hurlers have also set up in Portugal for the week. I'm shocked and astounded, I tell you.
The club month for April, it's working pretty well.
Absolutely flying it.
It's flawless.
Front page of the sports section of the Irish Examiner this morning is a chance spurned here. Wasteful Gunners a 10-man Atletico off the hook, and they certainly did that, conceding late to a decent enough goal from Antoine Griezmann last night. So 1-1 and a pretty dejected Alexandre Lacazette there on the front page of the Examiner. So we'll have more of that conversation with Kevin Caban in just a little bit. It's also Lacazette pulling his shorts in frustration on the front page of the Times Irish edition here, the sports section here. Griezmann sucker punch stuns Arsenal is the headline here, and Rangers offer Gerrard first manager's job, as we've been discussing there. The Guardian is our next port of call this morning, and leading the way here again is a shot of Antoine Griezmann after insisting that ball go into the net last night to level up that game. Atletico spoiled the party is the headline here. Wenger's big night shattered by Griezmann's late leveller, of course, his last home game in Europe. So Arsene Wenger bowing out there with a pretty disappointing draw. The Irish news this morning, it's GAA for this morning here. Fears eased over our key Armagh pair. This is injury fears over Ethan Rafferty and Rory Grugan. Seems as if both of those are going to be fit. Dave, I don't know what you think about Armagh's chances, a team obviously who reached the quarters last year. Their opportunity to push on a little bit in the coming year, and obviously a couple of key players being fit is going to aid that. And
their warm weather training will have gone.
They've been in Portugal
a long way. They've been away as well.
Yeah.
Look, they've already achieved objective 1 for 2018, which is to get themselves out of Division 3. So they're already in positive territory, and a couple of championship wins. I don't know if they're going to get to an All Ireland quarter final, but they are in that mix of tier 2 counties, if you want to call them that have a very good chance and will be targeting the Super 8. If they could do that, it's been a brilliant year.
Yeah. All right. Front page of the Racing Post this morning is chatter about Punchestown Day 4 today. We're going to be talking to John Duggan about this shortly. Can Sam Crowe get Elliott off the ropes, which is roughly where he is at the minute? He's 420,000 in the hock to behind Willie Mullins here ahead of the Liz Day Punchestown. It's pretty bloody incredible, given that he was, I think, $500,000 down heading into the festival. I mean, it was the same story last year, that it was very much overturned with the Punchestown Festival. But
I tell you, there's a lot more people than just Gordon Elliott who's desperate for Sam Crowe to get the business done today, and a lot of them are not a million miles away from this studio.
Who those people are, Dave. Yeah. What have you got for us?
I'm going to kick off with the Irish Times. Again, it's about Arsenal. Arsenal undone by darkly familiar defensive error. A really good night for Arsenal until that last 10 minutes when Antoine Griezmann got that equaliser. And a lot of fears over Liverpool and their supporters, in particular, their trip to Rome in the next few days. Liverpool to meet Roma officials over safety fears. Delegation from club will travel to Rome today ahead of the second leg. I guess, let's face it, you're going to Rome, you're going to have to deal with the Roma supporters. And their reputation is not what it should be, to say the least, and that's been very kind to them. The Herald this morning, Wenger dream fading. Griezmann goal, huge blow to Gunners, and a picture of a fairly dejected looking Aaron Ramsey, who had one particular effort and goal that was clawed away brilliant by Jan Oblak. It was an absolutely stunning save.
After they'd gone 1-1 as well. I mean, that
after they'd gone 1-1, and you just got the feeling this is not going to happen for you. It's not going to be your night, because that was a save of the highest quality.
The players were on the pitch afterwards. We'll talk to Kevin about it in a bit, but the players were on the pitch afterwards, like, dejected. Certainly the commentary tones were, this game is, beyond Arsenal now. It feels to me to be over fatalistic almost. Like, the game is still very much alive.
To me, it's not.
Do you think it's done?
Well, I would be astonished if Arsenal got out of this one, because they're up against one of the best teams in Europe, albeit
with a great defence at home and all that. But I mean, but still,
incredible defence at home. 4 goals conceded
but
in the league all season at home.
Being dejected on the pitch afterwards in a way that suggested the game was done was not great body language.
Well, I don't know if it's that they were. I don't know if that body language is telling a story of them feeling the tie was over. It was that they poured their heart and soul into that 90 minutes last night. They really played well. They absolutely harried and hassled Atletico all over the field. It was one of the best performances I've seen from Arsenal this season. And you've fallen short, and that is to a late equaliser. So you can understand their dejection in the moment. I don't think it's because they felt we've no chance of scoring over there and that this tie is over. I think that's a stretch. But I feel that the tie is as good as over, because I just don't see them getting through 90 minutes at the Wanda without conceding at least once. Because he just showed last night one lapse, really poor lapse. Nacho Monreal, who was quite good last night, just switches off for half a second, plays Griezmann onside.
And then Koscielny does what he does and kicks the ball onto his own chest.
Yeah, that was a little unfortunate. The part of me looking at it was going, why doesn't Koscielny just go with Griezmann and allow him have the ball and deal with it from there? But if that ball doesn't ricochet off his chest and it goes, a foot to its left and it goes over his shoulder, well, it's a brilliant piece of defending. So I couldn't be overly critical of Koscielny there, and even the manner in which Ospina made the save, and then you had to feel for Mustafi slipping just as he arrives on the scene, and even then made a pretty good effort.
Back. I think that was actually what tripped him up in the end. And actually, I mean, if he was in any way calm, even then, he still could have stood up. But he was just so frantic, I think, at that point that Griezmann was about to kick the ball.
Yeah, well, he just wanted to make sure he was there by the time the trigger was pulled by Griezmann. And he just slips at the crucial moment. And even then, he deflected it into the net. So he almost managed to get it.
He also stuck his hand out in an effort to try and paw it away, to be fair to him.
So I think the blame is with Monreal. But I thought Arsenal could have been pretty pleased, put it this way, if they were playing in that manner all season. Wenger may not be heading out the door, and they certainly wouldn't be 10, 15 points off the pace when it comes to a Champions League place. So that was one of their better performances this season. They were just up against a very good team. The Mirror Sport this morning, mad, bad and sad. Dire defending cost wasteful Gunners again as they failed to hold on against 10-man Atletico. And another reference to the potential for Steven Gerrard to take the job at Ibrox. Gerrard is number one choice to take over at Rangers. The Irish Daily Star this morning. Omo, I didn't. José Mourinho at pains in a piece with Brazilian media yesterday to insist I wasn't actually the guy that sold Mo Salah while at Chelsea. I was the man who brought him to Stamford Bridge, albeit then didn't play him, didn't give him any game time, and was happy enough for him to go on loan to Fiorentina. But José Mourinho was saying, don't blame me for the fact that the current PFA Player of the Year is no longer a Chelsea player. Faugheen's a Mull marvel. Faugheen rolled back the years with a stunning performance to catcher yesterday's feature race at Punchestown, the Ladbrokes Champion Stayers Hurdle, and FA Wembley sale for there's more on the potential sale of Wembley Stadium to the Jacksonville Jaguars, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
if you're looking to me for confirmation of that, Dave, that's worrying concern.
You're all over these NFL stories. The Irish Sun this morning, Pathetico. I like that one. Wenger's flops are rocked by 10-man Madrid. Another reference to Stevie Gerrard. All yours, Gerrard, when it comes to the Rangers job. And the mess laid plans is a little piece of Brian Cody. Says the GAA's attempts to tidy up fixtures in April has made a mess of club games in Kilkenny, and I'm sure he's not the only manager that feels that way at the moment. And lastly, for me, the Irish Daily Mail. Time machine. He really did roll back the years. It was a brilliant display from Faugheen yesterday for Willie Mullins. Land's huge victory. Mullins is favoured in title battle with Elliott. And then Cody hopeful of a summer return for Hogan. It's big news if you're a fan of Kilkenny hurling. Richie Hogan is back in light training, and Brian Cody remains hopeful the former hurler of the year will play some part in the revamped Leinster Championship. A Leinster Championship and an All-Ireland Championship minus Richie Hogan is not a good thing.
All right, they are the back pages for this morning. Keep your comments coming in, and we've had loads of them on all our topics so far, so we're going to bring you a flavour of those now, and then we're going to get into some rugby discussion with Stephen first, but a couple of the football ones that have come in. One rugby one to begin with first from Brian Gucky and Dave. He says, serious Leinster protection bias from off the ball. Hashtag OTB AM.
What's that referring to?
It's essentially somebody with a Leinster accent talking about things that are not to do with Leinster.
But Leinster protection bias, is that what they said? I've absolutely no idea what that means. So I'm just going to put it down as nonsense.
Gerrard, Brian, comment back in, let us know what it is you're talking about. George Savage says, Gerrard to Rangers, surely that would stick in the craw of a lot of Liverpool fans. So, I mean, the inference being that I guess Celtic are maybe more aligned with Liverpool culturally than Rangers might be. Is it going to be an issue? I wouldn't have really thought so.
I would like our Liverpool supporters to get in touch with us, and I don't see why. Is there any kind of enmity between Liverpool and Rangers? Is there any history there? It doesn't seem.
No, I don't think so.
Not to my recollection.
Negative history, obviously. Yeah.
And I know Stephen Gerrard did bring the Liverpool 18s up to play their Rangers counterparts after he took the job, and he was waxing lyrical about the stadium, the atmosphere. He went to an Old Firm game, talked about tradition and the history of the club. So certainly Stephen Gerrard doesn't seem to have any issue with Rangers.
The story here is that the Rangers owner is good mates with Kenny Dalglish, apparently, and was sitting next to him at the game the other night and all this sort of stuff, and too exuberantly, by the way, celebrating the Liverpool goals for a lot of Rangers fans' tastes, apparently, was one of the bit of reflections that had come out of it. But that he's a friend of Kenny Dalglish and would have said to him, listen, or I presume in the course of that conversation, listen, we're looking for a new manager, have you any ideas? Well, this guy over here is going pretty good. I mean, you might have heard of him before. Yeah. And that's how the matchmaking is made, as it turns out. I mean, it would be interesting if Kenny Dalglish was the kingmaker in this entire conversation, obviously.
I would be very interested to see him take the job, just to see how it goes. It would make me more inclined to watch some Scottish Premiership if Stephen Gerrard is standing in the dugout at Ibrox.
That's a fair point too, yeah. The Old Firm derby suddenly take on a bit of a new hue as well, don't they?
Well, it does, and as you've already said, you know, if it's not the most bitter rivalry in sport, the Brendan Rodgers, Stephen Gerrard rivalry, but look, I'm sure they got on extremely well, but just the fact that they would be facing each other in the dugout as well would add another little bit of an ingredient into the Old Firm recipe, because look, let's face it, it needs something. Not just the Old Firm, but the Scottish Premiership needs something. It needs a little bit of razzmatazz.
It needs Rangers to be able to compete. That's quite a simple thing, really, but the owner needs to obviously get his...
They need a title race. They do need Rangers to be able to compete, and maybe one other team to at least make a fist of it.
Yeah. Genuine question from Andrew Place here on Twitter. He says, sorry if it's a stupid one, how do you listen to OTB AM? Is it only a Facebook or Periscope thing?
No!
Is it on the internet radio by any chance? Not on internet radio to my knowledge, Andrew, but you can listen to it if you go to offtheball.com and just click on the little play button up on the top right hand side, and you can stick it onto your audio stream or put it on Bluetooth in the car or whatever else it is you're doing yourself, because we're kind of conscious, Dave, that there's people on the bike or it's not always possible.
There's no need to tune out just because you have to get into the car or hop on the train or the bus.
I mean, if you were on the bike, you could sort of cycle along, if you're in Dublin on the bike, cycle alongside, just remain alongside a Dublin bus for the entirety of your journey way in to hook into the good Wi-Fi and sort of keep watching as you travel on in.
There is
might not be the safest thing in the world.
Maybe not in Athlone, but up in Dublin and a lot of the country we have 3G and 4G in some cases.
Yeah. Not unlimited though, Dave, is my main thing. And you know, if you're watching, which you should be doing, an hour and a half of OTB every morning, your data is going to get eaten up. But you know, good Wi-Fi is the solution to all of that.
Go down the unlimited route.
Listen in the audio stream. So keep your comments coming in, Dave. That's the short story here. #OTB AM.